1967 was a watershed year for the Beatles, a year in which they fully embraced their role as cultural innovators and produced some of the most iconic music of the 20th century. It was the year of Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, a groundbreaking album that not only defined the psychedelic era but also changed the landscape of popular music forever. As the world around them was swept up in the countercultural movement, the Beatles found themselves at the epicenter, creating music that reflected the spirit of the times. The story of 1967 begins with the band members returning to the studio after the intense and transformative experiences of the previous year. The Beatles had decided to stop touring permanently, freeing them to focus entirely on recording. This newfound freedom allowed them to experiment with their music in ways they had never done before. The studio became their creative sanctuary, a place where they could push the boundaries of their sound without the pressures of live performance. Their first major project of the year was Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, an album that would come to symbolize the height of 1960s counterculture. The concept for the album emerged from Paul McCartney, who envisioned the Beatles adopting the persona of an Edwardian-era military band, freeing them from the expectations tied to their own identities. This allowed them to explore new musical landscapes, incorporating a wide range of influences, from classical music to Indian ragas recording for Sgt. Pepper began in November 1966 and continued into the spring of 1967. The sessions were marked by an unprecedented level of experimentation. The Beatles used the latest studio technology, including multitrack recording and tape manipulation, to create complex soundscapes. They incorporated a diverse array of instruments, from sitars and tabla to orchestras and brass bands, blending them seamlessly with their rock roots. The album's title track, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band, set the tone, with its brass-heavy arrangement and whimsical lyrics. It was followed by With a Little Help from My Friends, sung by Ringo Starr in the character of Billy Shears. The album continued with songs that each pushed the boundaries of popular music. Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds, with its surreal, LSD-inspired lyrics and dreamlike quality, Getting Better, with its optimistic yet introspective outlook, and Fixing a Hole, which reflected McCartney's musings on creativity and freedom. One of the most ambitious tracks on the album was A Day in the Life, a collaborative effort between Lennon and McCartney that melded two separate song fragments into a haunting, orchestral finale. The song's sweeping arrangement, coupled with its enigmatic lyrics, made it one of the Beatles' most acclaimed works. Released on May 26, 1967, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band was an immediate success, topping the charts in the UK and the US. Critics hailed it as a masterpiece, and its impact was felt across the world. The album wasn't just a collection of songs, it was an immersive experience, from its iconic cover art featuring a collage of famous faces to its seamless flow of music, which many considered to be the first true concept album in rock history. In June 1967, the Beatles participated in the world's first global satellite broadcast, Our World. For this event, they debuted a new song, All You Need Is Love, which perfectly encapsulated the idealism of the summer of love. The performance was watched by millions around the globe, further cementing the Beatles' status as cultural leaders. All You Need Is Love became an anthem of the era, its simple message resonating deeply with the spirit of the times. However, 1967 was not without its challenges. The Beatles were still grappling with the pressures of fame and the complexities of their personal lives. In August, their manager Brian Epstein died of a drug overdose. Epstein had been a guiding force for the Beatles since the beginning, and his death left the band reeling. His loss marked the end of an era, and the band was left to navigate their careers without his steady hand. As the year progressed, the Beatles continued to explore new creative avenues. They began work on their next project, a television film called Magical Mystery Tour. The film, which was largely Paul McCartney's idea, was a psychedelic journey inspired by the band's experiences with mind-altering substances. Although the film received mixed reviews, the accompanying soundtrack included several classic Beatles songs, such as I Am the Walrus, The Fool on the Hill, and Hello, Goodbye. In November 1967, the Beatles released the Magical Mystery Tour album in the US as a full-length LP, combining the film's soundtrack with other singles from that year. The album was another commercial success, further showcasing the Beatles' ability to evolve and adapt their music to the changing cultural landscape. By the end of 1967, the Beatles had firmly established themselves as the most innovative and influential band in the world. Their music had transcended mere pop songs to become works of art that reflected the profound social and cultural changes of the decade. However, beneath the surface, tensions were beginning to simmer. The loss of Brian Epstein, the growing individual ambitions of the band members, and the pressures of their unparalleled success were all setting the stage for the challenges that would come in the following years. But for now, in 1967, the Beatles were on top of the world, having created music that would endure for generations. There are thousands more great videos like this on the channel. Please take a look, share and subscribe, or visit the Bonswivit shop on eBay, which has over 250,000 rare and collectible items listed.